welcome into this week at Gridiron Icon, the podcast. I am joined by my better half and partner in crime, the iconic number 88, Mr. Preston Denard. How are we, my friend?
Man, I'm doing outstanding, but I feel a little displaced because I told you I was going to feature all of my hats that I have in this great room in my house, and I don't have one on. So that's my fault.
That's okay. That's okay. You look amazing.
Thank you, sir.
You look amazing.
So
You're
excited
looking good
about
if you're
our
watching on
guest
YouTube.
tonight. Yeah.
This guest is a special one, so we can't wait, I should say, to welcome her in. And this is special because we're talking about someone who has performed on the highest stage in terms of athletics in the world. Our guest is a two-time Olympian as a heptathlete. She also competed twice, at the World Championships where she won a bronze medal in 2001. She was also a two-time silver medalist at the 1999 Pan American Games, and she was an American national champion 4 times, and since has moved on to coaching champions in track and field. The iconic Olympian, the great Shelia Burrell. Thank you.
There you go, Sheila.
Well, I'm a lot more modest in that introduction, but thank you.
Oh, we do everybody that way.
That's right. That's right. We try to make you highly uncomfortable from the outset so that...
Good job. You succeeded.
In all honesty, an absolute thrill to have you in. And thanks again to Preston, obviously, for the friendship and getting you on this little show. We couldn't be more excited to talk to someone like yourself and the diversity of athletes and coaches and thought leaders across the board. You rise to the top as an Olympian and as a track and field star. And it's a theme on this show. We've had a lot of people that started in track and field and baseball. It seems to be this common thing. So I, for one, am very excited. We like to kick it off right from the beginning because we're people first, so to speak.
Okay.
Can you tell us a little bit about growing up, where you're from? No pressure on this little thing. But we'd love to get into the person because you're more than a track and field athlete, and we'd like to talk about that.
Well, I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I think Preston and myself probably, for a few years we're on that top 100 list of, every end of the year where they do a list of athletes that have come out of, the state of New Mexico and out of the state of Albuquerque. I've been on that list a few times, but I actually went to high school there in Albuquerque. I went to one of the poorest schools in the city. I went to Rio Grande High School. Back then it was, I think when I was in school at Rio Grande, we had, we had people getting scholarships in wrestling, volleyball. We were taking college trips, and there was lots of the teachers there were really cared about the students. And so there was a lot of, forward thinking during that time when I was at Rio Grande High School. I'm still very, friends with some of my teachers from back then. But I grew up in Albuquerque. I was raised by my grandparents. My grandfather and my grandmother pretty much are my mother and father. And unfortunately, my grandmother, God bless her soul, just passed away. I was at the funeral last week. I was there in Albuquerque last week, Preston.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I said, I'm going to stay on track. I was like, should I tell him? But it's all good. Just got back to San Diego this week on Tuesday or Monday night. And so my time growing up in Albuquerque was I was just an athlete that, played every sport, like playing with the guys. I was the kid in PE class that the boys hated and the girls hated, but they liked having me on their team. Didn't like me, but wanted me to be on their team, kind of thing. Or I got picked last because by the girls would pick me last if they were picking teams or something. Right. But I was a shy kid growing up. When I was younger, I was shy, and sports just sort of guided and directed me and kind of opened the doors of opportunity for me. I think a lot of the attention and sort of like exposure I got was because of my athleticism, for sure. I was a bright kid. So I think I was a teacher's pet a lot because I was quiet still, but I was smart enough. I was smart in athletics, so teachers liked me. I grew up, like I said, with my grandparents. My aunts and uncles are like my sisters and brothers. I had a younger brother, and I grew up in the South Valley of Albuquerque. I loved growing up in the South Valley. I want to give the South Valley, which gets a bad rap in Albuquerque, a shout out because
Yep.
I grew up where we didn't have sidewalks on the road, no, but we were a community. I grew up in Valley Gardens. We had cholos everywhere. But our street was a street where we knew all of our families. We rode buses together. We had sleepovers. It was a very much, in a predominantly Latino or Chicano and Albuquerque neighborhood. Everybody was poor, so it was all good.
Wow.
It was all good. And so I had the opportunity to just be, taken under a lot of people's wings there in Albuquerque. I was coached by Prentice Jones, who to this day, I stayed in touch with him until his death 2 years ago. And, I love my upbringing there in Albuquerque.
Yeah. Prentice was an icon too here in track and field. And
Yeah.
The closest thing I came to was having the ability to coach a youth USA track and field team here in Albuquerque over the past few years and before COVID. And shame on COVID. It just took that opportunity away.
Yeah.
But I loved it. Sheila, you would have just loved this. I'd go to practice at Rio Rancho High School. We start at 5:30. I pull up into the track area. And as soon as I get out of my car, there's 20 young 8, 9, 10-year-old girls that would just come and grab me and just because track and field here is different than your traditional sport. Sheila can contend to this. And I tell you, Sheila, you can also say this too, because I don't know the true answer, but there were other Olympians coming from here, but in different sports too.
Yeah.
I think we had a gymnast. I can't recall all of them. Can you at all?
I can. I know we've had several NFL players. I think Nota Begay was a golfer during my time. Wrestling was really big in coming out of Albuquerque and New Mexico. We had track and field. We have one person that's a judge right now in Arizona that's in the Hall of Fame in Albuquerque, who I stay in touch with right now. Yeah, so it's there's talent that's come out of there. That Hall of Fame group that, I think you're a part of, I'm a part of, that Hall of Fame group. It's the people that I know I've reached out to or kind of try to reach out to and connect with. But there's been a lot. Speaking of your USA experience, I was a part of the Albuquerque Olympic Club.
Okay.
At the time, when I was a kid, that was the oldest track club in Albuquerque.
Yes.
Now, Duke City Dashers was really big for all you track and field fans. Was really big. They had the most people. They had the nicest uniforms. All that stuff, right? I was a part of AOC. We were red and white, little smaller club based in the Valley at that time. And I remember this, just telling the story about, Coach Chicarello, who's still there in New Mexico, was around during that time. I would get my feet.
Go ahead. Tell it like you do.
I just started running track when I was 12 years old, and I came to Albuquerque to go with my grandparents, go to school. And I joined this track club. And the reason I joined the track club was because I was the fastest kid in middle school. And one of my friends said, "Hey, Sheila, you want to come out for this track team?" And I was like, sure. Okay. I don't know. Okay. I went out and made the end for AOC. And they were like, "Great, we'll take you." But I got my butt kicked every single weekend when I first started.
Wow.
Preston.
Yeah.
By a girl from Duke City Dashers.
Wow.
And then there was that one meet where I beat her. I used to pretend like a dog was chasing me. That was my technique was whatever coaching they did, I do not remember. I remember a dog chasing me was what I kind of used for my motivation. I was scared of dogs.
That's a good one.
So the one meet that I beat her, it was over. It was a wrap. Never lost again.
There you go.
From that point on, never lost again. And then they began to, some loved me, some didn't like me, but I think for the most part they liked me. At a certain point, it was just a fun time back then,
That is so fun. Shout out to that. Do you any idea where that rival is today? Did she go on to keep?
I have no idea.
She's gone. Yeah.
I have no idea. I think though when I left Albuquerque, I probably am the most decorated track and field athlete that's come out of New Mexico.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can confirm that in preparation for meeting you. Yes, you are. Very well. But I think what's interesting for me is getting to know you. Before I got to know you, you were all state in other sports. Like you had volleyball, basketball. how'd you land on track and field? You were fast, I'm guessing.
I'll tell this story. I've told this story many times. Is
Oh.
that I played volleyball, I played basketball, and I ran track. And I remember very vividly to this day watching the '84 Olympic Games in my grandmother's living room. That was the first time I saw track and field on TV.
Really?
So the first time I ever saw people running or track and field as in the sport on TV was the '84 Olympic Games.
Wow.
So I didn't know anything about running. I grew up playing basketball with the guys. I was a big tomboy. No shame. I was a big tomboy. I grew up playing basketball with the guys. I grew up playing, flag football, break dancing, breaking bones, doing all that stuff, jumping on my riding bikes and, doing flips on bikes and all that stuff. I did all that. I broke my wrist doing it, lots of stuff.
I love
And
this. I love
I had just started. I don't know. No, I take that back. I had not even started running yet. It was just like this idea. I knew I was fast. I saw the '84 Olympic Games on television, and I remember the people I remember were like, of course, Evelyn Ashford was there, but people I remember were like Valerie Briscoe.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. I remember those people. I remember FloJo, who was third or fourth. I remember like the 400-meter runners. I just remember seeing women on TV doing a sport.
They were so good.
So when I grew up, there was no women on TV doing volleyball. There was no WNBA. There was no beach volleyball. There was none of that for women. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, in my mind, that's what I want to do. I knew at that point that I wanted to do that. It's like, oh, I could do that. Because if I'm going to play a sport and I wanted to play a sport and continue, I was like, I can do that. So as years went on, got into high school, and people began to tell me, oh, Sheila, you're going to go to the Olympics one day. You're going to the Olympics one day. I never said that out loud at that point because I had some, personal life issues. I'm living with my grandparents for a reason.
Sure.
There's some things going on there. And so I'm just trying to find myself, my confidence, my footing, and kind of like what I'm going to do with my life. And so going through that process, being, like I said, being able to be nurtured, like those people down at Rio Grande took me in and took care of me. But seeing women on television doing something that I thought I could do made a huge impression for me.
Wow.
And the sport had changed in 10 years. By the time I got recruited, I got recruited in 3 sports. I was recruited in basketball, I was recruited in volleyball, I was recruited in track. And my decision-making process in this, Stacey and Preston, was this. If I ever wanted to do something after college and I wanted to play a sport, the only thing I thought that I could do was track, because that's the only time it was the only sport that I saw on TV.
Wow. Interesting. And that's
so for me, it was like I can go play, like when some schools recruited me to play volleyball and track, or basketball and track. I chose track because I thought that if I had a chance to make it post college, whatever that looked like in my mind, in my young mind, track was the only thing that I could do.
That's so. And you think that was just your young brain just latched onto the image and went, "Oh, I can do that." Because volleyball, they didn't do beach volleyball on ESPN. WNBA hadn't been invented. So Lisa Leslie and those folks all came later.
Much later.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the main thing, is like I had never seen, or like in that way where they were celebrated women on TV doing a professional sport.
And those ladies were rock stars. FloJo, Jackie Joyner Kersee was in those Olympics, right?
Jackie was young in those Olympics. I didn't even know who Jackie Joyner Kersee was at that point. Jackie wasn't even on my mind. It was all about Evelyn, Valerie. At that year, I think Carl was young. Just seeing people sprinting was like, wow.
That is, what an interesting angle that I've never contemplated. That's it. So then at this point, you're inspired by the Olympics. UCLA comes knocking. You end up going to UCLA. Tell us about that.
I ended up going to UCLA. I was recruited by UCLA, LSU, I think Illinois. A couple schools recruited me and wanted me to come to play 2 sports, dual sports. But there's another thing. I think at that age, even as a high school student, I was already thinking ahead, where, I grew up in a pretty multicultural. Look, let's be real. I went to high school at Rio Grande High School. There was probably like 5 Black people in my school,
Really?
or 6. It's less than 10 for sure.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Less than 10 for sure. And we all knew each other. We're still friends to this day.
Hmm.
I just saw one of them last week.
That is so
Um,
cool.
and we're still friends. But, and so I had to go someplace where, I felt comfortable. Uh, you know, we're a military family. So I've had some experience with being around people from different areas. So going to LSU, which was Pat Henry, who was from Albuquerque, his whole family, I know the whole Henry family actually from Albuquerque. They're all coaches in Albuquerque, was at LSU at the time. And Pat came down, watched me play basketball, came down, going to a coach that's from my hometown would have made sense, but I couldn't handle Louisiana. Like that just wasn't, Baton Rouge wasn't for me. And so my thought process was this. Bob Kersey was the head coach at UCLA at the time. And I had a little small town mentality, I'll say, coming from Albuquerque. My thought process was this. If wherever I go to college, and let's say I want to do something else, if it doesn't work out, what city should I be in so that I can make something of myself?
Yep, that's a good one.
And so this was literally my thought process, was not necessarily how good I was going to be in track, which was important, but if something happened and I needed to be someplace, did I want to be in Champaign-Urbana or Baton Rouge or this city or that city? What city should I be in so that if I'm going to make something of myself, I can meet people and make something of myself? That was my thought process at 18 years old.
That
We're
is
getting
outstanding.
we're getting a snapshot into how Shelia thinks. You're forward thinking enough to go, oh, women on the Olympics on TV, pick a city where I can further my life. We're getting a snapshot of the way you think.
Yeah, no, that was definitely. And when I got there, I was overwhelmed. I'll admit that my first couple of years in college, I was overwhelmed. We still had phones that you picked up and dialed back then.
Yep.
And we still had in the dorms, you still had to put in a code and a calling card or,
Oh,
and they
yeah.
charged. And we still had all that stuff. And my phone bill was probably $200 every month for the first few months. I called my grandmother all the time. I was homesick, but I was a little overwhelmed my first year because I just didn't feel like I was good enough. I struggled throughout my collegiate career. I really struggled with my confidence,
Interesting.
just trying to get my footing because heck, Angela Burnham was on my team and she just got back from the Olympic trials and she was on my team. Janine Vickers was a medalist, became a medalist in the Olympic Games in the 400 hurdles, and she was on my team. And Carol Smith, who's who I followed as a high school kid, she graduated before me. She's at UCLA. She's a senior. I'm a freshman, and I looked up to Carol my entire high school career in track and field. And here I am on the same team with her. So I really struggled when I first got there with trying to just believe I was good enough to be there.
Wow.
And then by my senior year, I figured some things out. Became an All-American. Got fourth in nationals in the heptathlon. My third year, I qualified for nationals in the hurdles. I was a member of the relay teams, like a significant member of the relay teams, and so I sort of figured my way out. But I really, honestly, guys, for anybody that's a young athlete or a coach that's looking at a talented kid who has a lot of talent but seems to be struggling, I really didn't get good until I left college. And even though I had some success in college, I won a Pac-10 championship, blah, 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 all that stuff, I still didn't get good because I consider myself a late bloomer.
Okay.
Like I made my first Olympic team when I was 28. My second Olympic team, I was 32.
Wow.
I was what I would call a late bloomer in the sense that it took me that much time to just get my confidence and the support I needed, to actually go out there and perform.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? The beauty with that, Shelia, is in track and field, it sort of allows you that opportunity because there are time constraints on other sports that athletes play. But in track and field, if you are steady progressing and getting better and you're growing into that maturity of your body and accomplishing all the things you wanted through the training, I have a question for you. Being a heptathlete, when you were being recruited, how did the determination of who you were going to be, whether you were just a sprinter or distance or middle distance, or did that culminate to a decision say, shucks, let's let this woman do everything? How did that come about?
I went to the only school that outright recruited me as a heptathlete.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, everyone else recruited me as like a sprinter jumper. The only school that came close was Illinois with Gary Winkler, who was talking to me about sprinting and kind of, she could be a heptathlete. But from the very beginning, Bob Kersey came to my house on a home visit with Gail Devers. Gail Devers was an assistant at UCLA at the time. She did my home visit.
Wow.
I spent a lot of time with Gail my freshman and sophomore year, right when she was coming out of the Graves' disease. I spent a lot of time with her. We lived together in the summer one year. And UCLA was the only school that outright recruited me as a heptathlete. Now, Jackie Joyner-Kersee was there. And I will have to say that Jackie was an Olympic champion, world record hurdle holder. She was all those things. My favorite Olympic Games was the '88 Olympic Games. Still this day, it's my favorite Olympic Games. And Jackie was at UCLA. And I was, at my recruiting visit, I did a little, barbecue thing. Jackie was there and all the team was there. And it's so funny because I know JJ now. And I have so much respect and adoration for her. But coming out of high school, Jackie was not my decision maker. Like, she wasn't the deal breaker. It's like, it's Jackie Joyner-Kersee there. I want to be a heptathlete. That was not it at all.
That's right.
but it was that there was someone there to follow. At UCLA during that time, I tell you, Bobby had everybody who was anybody on the highest level of sport training at UCLA. John Smith was across the track with the men's team.
Oh yeah.
Had all the other male elite sprinters training at UCLA. And so, just being in the middle of all of that was very appealing to me.
Very cool. And as you look back in hindsight, would you say that built your confidence for down the road, just being in that kind of a peer group?
What? It exposed me to, this is what it did for me. And it's carried me throughout my career. Being coached by Bobby back then was intense. My goal, I've told him this many times, it's kind of funny now. My goal in college was not to get cussed out. Because Bobby's eyes, when you look at him, he has blue rings around his eyes and spit comes out of his mouth. And when he yells your name, it just feels like someone snatches you and snatches your soul. So I had a little PTSD when I left college, right? But the experience for me was is seeing what it's like and being around other athletes and people to understand what it means to win and what that achievement is like. I will say right now, guys, in my career as a coach, I'm not the most technical. I'm not the best coach out there for sure. Definitely not. And I don't get it. I mean, I'm not the highest achieving coach, but I have an inkling of what it takes and what that looks like and what it feels like and what it's like to be a part of it. Because we were running up at national championships at UCLA. I've won 5 individual USA championships myself. I've medaled at a world championships. I got 4th at the Olympic Games. All those things I would trace back to my exposure to being around high level, high-minded, disciplined, dedicated people.
Yeah. I mean, that's psychologists tell you you're the collection of the 5 people you spend time with, right? So that's got to be very interesting. Now, I think it's important, and I don't know if this rumor is true, but when you ventured into this prior to the Olympics of being a heptathlete, you weren't a hurdler.
No.
Is that rumor true? Can you tell how do you go
How do you
from
do
being
it? Yeah.
how do you do that?
I never hurdled until I got to college.
Wow.
Bobby had to teach me how to hurdle. He had to teach me how to hurdle, had to teach me how to throw javelin, teach me how to throw shot put. Yeah, I never hurdled. But by my junior year, I was going to nationals. I didn't make it past, back then it was the old system, but by my junior year, I was going to NCAAs and made it past the first round, didn't make it past the second round. But yeah, I learned how to hurdle in college.
And that's unique in itself because Shelia, if I'm correct, they're not recruiting athletes to do that with. I mean, you're either coming as a shot putter or a high jumper.
Oh, not anymore.
Not anymore.
Okay. Not anymore.
Wow.
By my senior year, I was 4th place at NCAAs, right? So I was 4th place at NCAAs by my senior year down in Tennessee, and on our 4x4 team, that was top 3. So, wow. But yeah, not anymore. We're not doing that anymore. Now you got to come. They come ready-made these days.
Ready-made. Okay.
Times have changed.
Yes, it has.
That is just really
You don't have
something.
athletes playing more than one sport anymore either. Like I played 3 sports in high school. Now kids specialize.
And I don't agree with that. I think that's ridiculous. I think they handicap kids as they're growing up, developing, because you just shared with us, as a lot of the athletes who've come on, they really didn't have a determination sport until late in high school,
Yeah.
even at that. So I just don't agree with that, with the coaches today saying you got to spend a year in football. You can't do track and field. You can't do baseball. And I think all that contributes to develop.
It's a different world, Preston. It's a different, but it's being driven by different forces nowadays, you know?
How do you survive that at being the coach at San Diego State? How do you deal with that with the athletes you bring in?
You know, it's almost like it's you're dealing with a club coach or you're dealing with a college coach. What being a multi-sport athlete does is it makes the athlete look. I think injuries are less prevalent with kids who play multiple sports. Because in track and field, we have the same movement pattern over and over and over and over and over again. You're running the same direction, you're doing the same drills, you're doing this over and over and over again. In basketball, you're cutting left, you're cutting right. You know, you're in volleyball, you're having to do, soccer, you're running, you're cutting. We don't do that in our sport. And so I think that my philosophy is, which is probably why I'm much more of a well-rounded coach, is that I believe that if you make someone more athletic, they're a better sprinter. If you make someone more athletic, they're a better pole vaulter. More athletic, they're a better jumper. More athletic, they're a better hurdler. And so that's just been my approach, especially because I work with developmental athletes. Like I work with a lot of developmental athletes, and so that's been how I've sort of guided my training principles. And I haven't been so focused on only being a sprint coach, so focused on only being a jumps coach, so focused on only being this kind of coach. I think you should coach the whole athlete and what you have in front of you.
Incredible. Yeah. This is a really nice snapshot into how you think and inspire other people. This is really cool. So before I want to get into coaching too, but we got to talk about the Olympics and all that it means. And you are a champion across several different places. And I won't reread the bio, but you go to 2 of these Olympics. You've said your confidence was building as you got older and you had more experience. But what was it like to make those first Olympics as you watch the '84 team and boom, I'm going to be in the Olympics? How does that even impact a young woman?
I don't know. I'm probably the person you talk to that's the least, the most direct about what it's really like, because my first Olympic experience, I had this vision in my mind. My first was 2000 was Sydney. That was my first Olympics. Sydney, Australia was amazing. But I had this vision in my mind that I went to the Olympics and I was going to be staying in this nice hotel. We were going to eating really good food, and it's going to be like everything set up to make sure that we, the athletes, are, we're taken care of. We're here to perform. This is a great experience. Stacy, Preston.
Here it comes.
Here it comes. Honest. We're transparent on this show.
Oh, we're all good.
You got all your gear, you get all your Olympic gear, that's all great. You're getting set up. We went to Brisbane for training camp. So I spent 3 weeks in Brisbane before we went over to Sydney, which was great. And that was amazing. You're on the beach and you're training. And so that was all great. Get to the Olympic Village. And we get to the Olympic Village, and I didn't know that the Olympic Village was like, I didn't know what the Olympic Village was. I thought it was going to be like a big hotel.
Yeah.
It's not.
Oh, no.
It looks like it, but it's not.
It's not.
The power of television.
I was so butthurt that I had to share my room with 2 other people and sleep with my suitcase at the foot of my bed because there was no space to put it. I got there and I was like, I remember there's a multiple-time Olympian. I won't say her name here, but she was multiple-time Olympian from the U.S. She was a thrower. And she was the person I was like, big, kind of big sister, kind of like, what do I do? Where do I go? I'm like, I'm 28, but I'm like, okay, what's happening? What do we do? And she says to me, I was like, Connie, is this what? I was so like just hurt. And you go to eat food and it's like cafeteria food. I'm like, wait, where's the like good food, right?
Oh no.
What?
And then you go, if you're not a potential medalist, you're nobody. Like if you're not a potential medalist, or I was like, wait a second, I'm not important, really, am I? I didn't feel important at all. And so I went in with all of that. And Connie says to me after a couple of days, she sees me kind of complaining probably and grumbling about it. And she was like, she'll just, focus on you. Just know that your Olympic experience is whatever you make it to be. So your experience is whatever you make it.
Yes.
And for me, after that, my next experience at Athens was like, it was a much better experience athletically for me because I went in knowing that this experience is what I'm going to make it. I ended up finishing 4th in Athens, but I actually took the delusion or the dreams of like, I'm us Olympians we're the show. We were the show. Unless you are like one of the elite athletes or featured athletes, or they're doing this or that for you. Unfortunately, during Athens, I was going in expecting to medal, and so I got a lot more attention and sort of support going into it. So that made that experience different as well.
Interesting.
But my first Olympics, I ended up no hiding in the high jump, and that's where I got my confidence.
Okay.
Sydney was great. Sydney was great for me because I went and ranked 6th in the world going into that games, and it's 7 events, the heptathlon. And the second event is high jump. I got 0 points in high jump because I no-hided, which means I didn't clear a bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
My coach encouraged me, made me finish the competition anyway, even though there's no chance of me being ranked very high. I did not get last. Even though I didn't score, I scored 0 points in one event. I did not get last.
Wow.
That's one thing. The second thing is after I no-hided, I always had this whole idea that my confidence up until that point was based on how well I performed. So in a training day, if I had a good practice, I'm a good athlete. I'm a good person. I had a bad training session or competition, I'm a bad athlete. I'm a bad person. So my confidence was always attached to an outcome or result of my performance. I no-hided at the Olympic Games, and I got off the mat and I realized that I was okay. Like nothing happened to me. Like lightning didn't come down and strike me dead. I didn't die. My grandma still loved me. My friends were still my friends. Nothing happened when I no-hided. And my friend, Dee Nathan, still one of my good friends to this day. She made the team as well. Another heptathlete who kind of like was a big sister to me. Still is. She tells me what to do still. And Dee walked over to me and she says, are you okay? Because she knows how I am. I was super intense. I was very intense. Are you okay? And I looked at her and I was like, you know what? I am okay. Nothing happened to me. And from that point on, I would never no-hide again. And from that point on, this is what I came up with, guys. That no matter how well or poorly I performed, it didn't matter. I was still Shelia Burrell. I was still a good athlete. I still had talent, and my grandma still loved me. My family still loved me, and I still had friends.
Wow.
Okay, I'm good.
Wow.
What age were you, Shelia? For everybody
I was
listening.
28 years old.
28.
Thank you.
Outstanding.
I was 28 years old. The very next year, guys, I medaled at the World Championships. That's the year I medaled. The next year. The next year I was ranked in the top 5 in the world for those next 220, the next Olympic cycle.
Right.
Wow. That whole segment you just went through and explaining what you went through and how you dealt with it, it is so critically important for any young athlete listening to this podcast to hear those words, because we have so many athletes that are now sort of zeroed in, as you said, on one sport, and they got to be their best at one sport. But here you are looking around and going, okay, I'm still here. Yep. Okay. I'm still alive. I can still do this. And just the mental discipline. How important is that in track and field? And I know it's important in all sports, but how much more is the mental preparation important in track?
Well, I'll tell you this from what my experience. And coaching, there's some of that lens into coaching. You see different athletes go through different things. Everybody's story and journey is different, first of all, and from where they're coming from. From my background, where I came from, I probably had to go through some things that, I needed to go through in order to get me where I am. Somebody else may have a different upbringing, but I look at it this way, and I figured this out early in my competitive career, or early in my coaching career, is that when you're in high school, guys, it's just the most talented person out there. Like, you're good because you're just more talented than everybody else. Discipline has nothing to do with it. Right? When I was coming up, at least, it had nothing to do with it. The person who was the most talented, you paid attention to, you saw, they got all the attention. They just were better shooters, better football players, running backs. They're just more talented.
Wow.
I didn't spare nearly as much time.
That.
I didn't spend nearly as much time as kids do now being a good sprinter. Yet I was highly recruited out of high school as a sprinter. I didn't do half the stuff. Prentice and I didn't do half the stuff that these kids do now. Yeah. So it's just a matter of being who's the most talented.
Wow.
When you get to college, everybody's talented.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially when you go to school like UCLA.
That's true.
Man.
When you get to college, you're not special because you're talented.
Yeah.
Wow.
You really think about it. I'm not special because I'm talented, because everybody's talented.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like going to the pros. I mean, everybody belongs here.
So in college, it's one of those things where it's the person who can apply themselves. If you can just, be committed, you can apply yourself to what you're doing, and you know how to compete, because it's very rigorous. You got to score points. And you apply yourself, right? You're going out. Your nutrition is not. You don't sleep a lot. You don't sleep good. You don't eat good. You don't do nothing good you're supposed to, but you apply yourself.
I listen. I'm the guy here. I'm going to say it. I'm looking at two amazing athletes. I was the guy that could read a defense, but I couldn't run a 4.7 40. So I hated you people. I hated all of you. I just sit there going, I
was only 4.6. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, you're killing me. So I love that. And for anybody listening, how inspiring. I mean, an Olympic athlete and listen, your last Olympics, you played injured, didn't you?
Yes.
I mean, and probably no one knew that until hindsight.
No. Yeah.
Wow.
So
that's incredible, Shelia.
Yeah. My last Olympics, I competed with a broken foot, had like lidocaine injections, like 4 or 5 lidocaine injections over 2 days in order to compete in the competition, and didn't tell anybody until I was finished with the competition and got 4th.
Good grief.
Talk about mental toughness. Woo.
Good. You were made for the NFL. Preston, look out. Unbelievable. Well, this is incredible. And this mental theme, I'm going to do this for a second, which puts Sheila on the spot. But you went from athlete, Olympian, champion, all of this stuff, fighting through all this stuff, self-confidence, injuries, life's challenges, all of that stuff. You go on to become a coach, and you just said a few minutes ago, I'm not the best coach. Listen up, folks who are listening in.
Oh, yeah.
This woman has coached 4 NCAA individual champions, 57 All-Americans, 69 Mountain West individual champs, 12 Midwest relay champions, 202 All-Mountain West performances. You're a 5-time Coach of the Year and over 50 school records.
6.
50. Okay. You have clearly developed humility along the way, too, because that is an incredible coaching record.
Oh, yeah.
How
do you coach kids today? How is it different?
You know what? I just coach people. Like, okay. I say I'm not the best coach, like the most knowledgeable coach. I see there's coaches out there that I'd be like, I'd call. I talked to one of them today. I call him, hey, I need help with this. Can you come help me with this? I don't know, can you help me understand or do better? Because I'm not figuring out block starts or, that's how you learn as a coach. I think I'll tell what one of my massage therapist friends says to me. She was like, I want to be you when I grow up, is because when I'm coaching, I try to find the way that it's about relationships, and you don't coach the event, you coach the person in front of you. And so athletes that I work with, like I said, a lot of development athletes that I work with, understand that we're in this together. like I know stuff. I'm not gonna say I don't know my stuff. I know my stuff, but it's how you communicate and how you relate this information and what you know to these athletes. What I do now is, like I tell people all the time, I'm a little bit old school, a little bit new school. I have that old school stuff. I have the old school Bob Kersey in me. I got that new school. These kids are different, you know, and they're not like I was. They don't have, but the principles are the same. You can't get away from certain things. And so, you know, I just try to coach the person and not just the event. And so, you know, I don't have a lot of injuries on my team for that reason. Some people can do certain things and some people can't. When I went to college, it was sink or swim. Either you could, most times back in the day, when you go to, even today, not even back in the day, today, if you're going to college as a track and field athlete, football player or whatever, especially with track workouts, either you can do it or you can't. If you can do it, you survive and you move on. If you can't, you're hurt and you're done.
Wow.
And I try to make sure that everybody gets better. That's my thing. When you come to San Diego State, what's my goal? You got to get better.
Love it. Love it. Mark that segment. Marked.
Marked.
Very profound. And seriously, we put you on the spot, but that's very profound for today's athlete and young people dealing with self-confidence, dealing with an injury, dealing with family challenges, dealing with anything that might be holding them back. That's awesome, Shelia.
Yeah. Like I said, I you know, this might come back and bite me in the butt, but I like when I have conversations about what's real. I try to be very much I want somebody to tell me what this is really like. And so, you know, I'm not going to sit here and give you that I'm the greatest when I know, you know.
No, that's our job. That's our job.
We make you uncomfortable as could be. Well, I must say this has been an amazing last 40 minutes or so. And so it's at this time, Shelia, I typically turn to my partner in crime, or he turns to me, whatever the case may be. And we do a little 2-minute drill. As we joked prior to hitting the record button, I feel like this should be the 4x100 relay drill or something.
Yeah. No, I tell you, it's a 60-meter shot right here. Here we go.
I got a feeling Preston usually inserts a little New Mexico in here somewhere.
Oh,
okay.
You know what? I think I will. You just gave me a thought, so you kick it off, my friend.
Oh, okay.
No. I'll do it, but you just set it up, right?
Okay. So Shelia Burrell, Olympian, world champion. We are going to launch into the 2-minute drill. This is all for fun. We get a little peek inside you as a person. Don't be nervous. Don't leave us. It gives people a chance to know that you're also a really great person too, and not just an athlete. So here we go. 2-minute drill with the iconic Preston Denard.
Well, and we're actually going to change that now to the 60-second sprint drill. So here we go. Something relative to track and field. And I do have one more question, and it's about San Diego State, because she is in the spotlight, and I'll tell you why when we get done. Okay? So that'd be the last question. So, all right, here we go. Sounds good, sounds silly, but it is a question. Gold or silver?
Gold.
Yes, indeed. That wasn't a stumping question, believe me. But you did take 1 second too long.
I'm like, why is he asking that? But yeah, gold.
I know. There you go. Go. You know, I just had to throw that out. Indoor or outdoor meets?
Outdoor.
Really? Tell us why.
Old school.
Just old school? Just like
outdoors where the money's at. The Olympics are competed outdoor, not indoor.
She's a coach.
Yeah.
Okay. I have it down here, the 100 or the 200, but I'm going to ask, what event would have been your favorite event?
100-meter hurdles.
100-meter hurdles.
Wow.
Okay. Do you remember the 180 hurdles?
I do not. I'm not that old.
Oh, I'm that old. She just said, I'm that old.
Denard with the
won't even go
sting.
I got myself. Your favorite movie?
Favorite movie? What's that love story? I like love stories. Sounds weird, but
I do too.
What the heck is the name of the movie?
We're going to do rom-com
Love
with
Letter.
Shelia Burrell.
Love Letters?
I think it's called. What's it called?
Oh, you're
Who's in
talking
it?
about, I know what she's talking about, the famous one with Ryan Gosling and
Yeah, that one. I love that movie.
Oh, yeah.
The Notebook.
Yeah, The Notebook. There you go.
That's my partner. He's
Love that
into it.
movie.
I love that movie too. Shh.
All right, your most, I'm going to call this, I'm going to change this one. Your most underrated coached athlete.
That would be a kid named Starlin Singleton.
Wow.
Ooh, cool name.
Okay. Okay. And Starling was from where?
From California. She did not. She went to nationals. She's an All-American. But let me tell you what, she was a walk-on.
Really?
She was a
Wow.
walk-on on my team that once I started working with her, went to nationals for me.
Okay.
Amazing.
Sheila, your greatest achievement.
Well, athletically in life.
I'm going to let you take us on that journey. Whichever way
You know
you want
what?
to go.
My greatest achievement is just because it's very important to me right now, is the care and the respect and that I gave my grandmother while she was living, because I'm a lot of who I am is because of her, and I feel like I did everything I could to return my appreciation for that. And like I said, who I am is a lot of because of her.
What's her name?
Essie Burrell.
Essie.
We call her Miss Essie.
Miss Essie, thank you so much for this lady. Okay, got a couple more. Here we go. Who plays you in a movie about your life?
I have no idea. Oh my God. I have no idea.
Wow.
I need to watch more TV and movies. I don't know.
Well, that's a first, right?
That's a first. I mean, I was like Joey. I had a couple that I was thinking she
Were you?
reminded me of. Yeah, a little
Who did you think?
Little Halle Berry in there. I just don't
No,
know.
no,
I don't know
no.
if no. Okay.
I'm
all right.
not that cute.
Oh, come on now. Come on now.
I don't know. Oh, I
who's
know
it?
Angela Bassett. I'll take Angela Bassett.
Angela
Yes,
Bassett.
yes.
I'll take
There
Angela.
we go.
She
Good,
has muscles. I like her.
She's amazing. She doesn't put up with crap in her movies either.
That's true.
Yeah, and she's got a nice body. She has muscles.
Yeah, there you go.
She's
She'll rock you.
the pretty lady.
Okay, here's the last one. It's my favorite one, and it's a New Mexico flavor. Red or green?
Green all day long.
Ah, she's from New Mexico.
I'm
what
so
that
out of
is?
it. Yes.
You know what that is? Okay.
The chilies.
That's chilies, baby. Oh, yeah.
Green all day long.
I think
Same here.
unbelievable. They usually go red, don't they, on this little show? Or is green?
Well, yeah,
okay.
You know what? Everybody has said red. I'm the only one green, and she's
I love green.
too.
You
Yeah, I
and
don't
her?
like grits really. No.
I don't. Either.
Okay.
I had a bad
Okay.
experience. So.
Okay. We don't want to talk about that. Okay.
No, we do not want to go there.
This has just been amazing. What a treat
Yes.
to have the great and iconic Shelia Burrell in here. Where can someone reach you or follow you? I know we can find you on Twitter at Sheila_Burrell. But is there
You can find me on Instagram easier.
Oh,
Okay.
At Chibi Gold, Coach Chibi Gold, at Coach Chibi Gold.
excellent.
I happen to be the co-president of a nonprofit organization called Women's Running Coaches Collective, which is an organization that's geared toward helping women, female coaches and coaches of female athletes coach women better. And so we have a much more holistic approach to coaching women that you can support them without all of the things that go on in our sport to be successful at the highest level, as well as, taking care of their mind and their bodies and injury prevention, those kinds of things. I'm also a part owner of something called Red Moon, which is focused on injury prevention and recovery for female athletes, working around the menstrual cycle. So those are the things that are my passion projects that I'm involved with. So if you want to find me on Instagram at Coach Chibi Gold. And that's probably the best place to find me, or email, which is, easy to find me at San Diego State.
Amazing. We didn't even know about your other ventures and ran out of time. That is
Invite
incredible.
me again next time.
Oh,
we will-
yeah.
We
Outstanding.
will take you up on that.
Yeah, I'm hashtag more than a track coach.
We really try to get that on this show. Like, we really want to know the person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's absolutely amazing. Well, thanks again. Any parting shots, Preston, from yourself?
Oh, I'm just so thrilled to have had this opportunity to have Sheila with us. She's a dynamic personality, very well respected and remembered here in New Mexico. One of our, as she talked about the top 100, she'll never leave that list. She's just recognized as that top athlete. So thank you so much for accepting our invitation. God bless you. Good luck to you. And we just look forward to doing this all over again and going deeper and further. So good luck from this point on.
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate you, Stacy, Preston. It's been nice.
So wonderful to meet you. And for all those listening, catch this great interview on YouTube or all the usual podcast hosts. A big, big thanks to Shelia Burrell, and good luck in everything she's chasing right now. And for myself and my partner, Mr. Preston Denard, we will see you next week.